Sir, can you speak to me about some of these independent agencies? So hold on, forgive me. Let me find my notes on that because I'm jumping around in the order as mentioned. So he went after guys that run the FTC, the EPA, the FCC, the SEC. For example, this is one I'm seeing a lot about in the news. This guy, Hampton Dellinger, who was appointed by Biden as head of the Office of Special Counsel, who's supposed to protect federal whistleblowers. Now, I mean, obviously, people would want to protect federal whistleblowers, but I can also understand why Trump would want to instill his own guy. Now, here's my thing. Now, you could say, well, that's not fair. He has a 5-year term. And I'm with you all the way, right? He's not allowed to do it. But Biden did the exact same. Peter Robb, general counsel of the National Labor Relations, was appointed by Trump, and Biden wanted to get rid of him. Then you've got, I mean, there's a list of these guys. Sharon Fast Gustafson, general counsel of equal employment, appointed by Trump, dismissed by Biden. So they both do it. Are they allowed?
This goes back almost 200 years. It goes back to the impeachment of Andrew Jackson, who succeeded President Lincoln and who fired people. And the Supreme Court ultimately said, look, the president has the right to fire these people. Even the head of the FBI, who has a 10-year, can be fired by the president short of the end of his term. So terms are guidelines, and they're not necessarily binding. Every term, every one is different. But in general, the president acts within his authority when he changes some of these alphabet agency heads. What we're seeing essentially is a revolution, a counter-revolution against the revolution that occurred in the 1930s and 1940s with the creation of the alphabet agencies by the New Deal. And we're seeing what's called the Chevron doctrine, other doctrines in which where the courts are saying the executive is headed by the president and the bureaucracy is not part of our Constitution. There's nothing in the Constitution about these alphabet agencies. They were created by Congress, and they can be uncreated as well, or they can be limited in their power by the president. So we're seeing a mini revolution going on, but it's all lawful. It's all done within the law, and if there are challenges to it, the courts will decide how to come out on particular cases. So the system is working.
But then why are they saying he's an authoritarian? He's getting rid of all oversight agencies. He just wants loyalists. He's a dictator. I mean, the insanity behind this paranoia.
Everybody wants loyalists. Who did John Kennedy appoint to be the attorney general? His brother. Who did Biden? Who did Ronald Reagan appoint as private lawyer? Who did Obama appoint? One of his best friends. So, everybody wants loyalists. And President Clinton appointed somebody as attorney general who wasn't a loyalist. And he suffered through her, Janet Reed, for 8 years.
Yes.
And he has said privately and publicly that, he wishes he hadn't appointed her. So, yeah, of course, presidents want, the attorney general of the United States has an impossible job. On the one hand, they're supposed to be loyal to the president. They're in the cabinet. They're trying to get him reelected, trying to make sure his party prevails. On the other hand, they're supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer who decides who to prosecute. And those are incompatible jobs. And so we're one of the only countries in the world that combine those two jobs in the attorney general. Most other Western democracies separate them. There's a minister of justice who's in charge of advising the president politically. And then there's an attorney general or a director of public prosecutions who decides who to prosecute. That's a non-political job, but we merge them. And that makes it very, very difficult for the attorney general.
But I've never heard the outrage when Reagan did it or when Clinton did it or when whoever the heck appointed loyalists. And we've all seen Trump get burned by people like Christopher Wray, for example, who, they shoved Christopher Wray down his throat and man, he lived to regret it. But again, I guess for me, it's the hypocrisy that you speak of that makes me skeptical at this point of all of it. Where was the outrage? Is it just Trump?
No, you should be skeptical, and there's a double standard of outrage, and the hypocrisy is prevalent, and we ought to be the ones, people who have podcasts like you and people who write articles like me, who call them out for it, and that's what we're both doing on this show.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.